this is Terry Lee. This is part 3 of our series on making our stationery project. Let me see if I can show you real quick in case you didn't see parts 1 and 2. The goal of our, I've got some organized mess going on under here, so I'm going to hold this. This project in part 1 and 2. Part 1 explains the project. Part 2 shows you how to start to put it together. Part 3, which is this part, is going to show you how to decide what you want to put inside of your project. And part 4, you're going to see the final result of what I decided to do. And I'm going to talk through my final decisions. So anyway, the original project, it opens this way, and it opens this way, and then it opens one more time, and there's stationery, and there's a place for stamps and maybe some ephemera, and then on this side there's a place for envelopes, and then you flip it in and you flip it in, and then when you and this ties, and then when you flip it over there's a pocket, and there's some little smaller stationery that's hand dyed by yours truly. So that's what we're going to do. I'm also at the end going to show you a third one, this being the second, a third one that I've already completed that's not a stationery kit or gift. I used to have the word stuck on a piece of paper right up there, but it looks like it fell somewhere and I probably threw it away. Anyway, I have to keep an eyeball on where my orange papers are, because that's the edges of where you can see on the screen. Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about adding elements to your page. In this kit, because of the nature of the pictures, I'm not really going to call it ephemera as such. We are going to add some tabs and a belly band and a few pockets, and I'm going to try to do some sort of a hidden something somewhere. So let me talk quickly about when you're gathering your items to try to decide what to use. Now, as you can see with this kit, and there's even more that we're going to talk about over here, so there's quite a bit that came with this kit, and that can get kind of overwhelming. But the first thing I did, now remember there was horizontal pages, there were 6 that came with this, and there are 6 vertical pages. Now this looks horizontal, but remember we took vertical pages and turned them on their side because I got a whole, oh, portfolio, see, it is right there on a piece of paper right in front of me. As close as the nose on my face, right? You know, the face you can't see me pointing to, partially intentionally, because I don't have my face on it. I'm wearing my reading glasses, and I'm so vain and so old that it doesn't really matter anymore. I just had my birthday, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I have a young sounding voice and beautiful, beautiful hands, and that with my beautiful green nail polish, and that is all we need to know. Alright, going off the rails here. So I've got all this extra ephemera, and I looked through it, and some of it matches the horizontal pages because they're in a little bit of a different style, even though the whole kit kind of goes together. I found that the 6 vertical pages and some of the ephemera went together, and then the 6 horizontal pages and some of the ephemera went together. They didn't necessarily mix and match. So what I had to do, now I had already cut out some squares from, I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's look at some of the ephemera, and then kind of I made some notes about kind of talking about it a little bit. Now this particular ephemera, let me put it over here so I know where it is. Place for everything and everything in its place. OCD. These are called seed packets or envelopes. the whole purpose of this, and I didn't use my scoreboard and score this yet, because I'm going to give you an idea that you can use other than folding this in and gluing it together and folding this in and this in to make an envelope out of it. What we're going to do out of these is, and this is the one that matches, not this one that says farewell. It doesn't. It's not the one that goes with this, or it may, but it's not the pages that we used, even though it does have the gears and the feathers. We didn't use this part as the background, but this matches. So this is the one I'm going to possibly use. Probably not, but possibly. Anyway, so you do want to check and see. When you have one big kit, you may actually have two smaller kits that go together. So that might help you. Now, what I'm going to probably do with this is, instead of, let me flip this over so it's easier to see. Instead of folding it and making a seed thing out of it, which or an envelope out of it, which you could put in a pocket and you could put in here, and that would be fine. But I think if you want to think about something different, is to cut this across so that it's square, maybe go by this line, cut this part off altogether, use this as a card, and turn this sideways and fold it in, and fold this in and use it as a pocket, and put this as a card, turn it sideways and put it in the pocket. I think that's a great idea. I don't really find a lot of use for the envelopes. Maybe that's just me, and maybe I just haven't made the right kind of book or booklet yet, or pamphlet or portfolio yet. So we can talk about that at a later time. But I just wanted to mention to you that just because this is an envelope and you look at it and you go, okay, well, I'm not going to use an envelope in this type of project, unless you wanted to use an envelope maybe to put some stamps in there. That would be alright. Or some washi tape for them to use on the paper that you're going to send, because it's going to have stationery in it, obviously, or it's not a stationery kit. So those are just some off-the-wall ideas that maybe you could use for something like this. So you could use it as an envelope and put things in it, but you could also use it as a pocket and a tab. Okay? So, and if we do decide to use this, we, as in you and me, because we are working on this together, then I would use this one and not this one. And I'm going to show you something else when we get to like circles and squares. Let me paperclip this back together, and I have to figure out an organized way to set things to the side. Alright, so now this also comes in, and this is called thread spindle or whatever. It represents this shape of, in the older days, and sometimes now, I guess, because they have the packages that you can slide these cards in, but you wrap thread around it, and that's how you keep the thread from being in a big mess, or embroidery floss once you take it out of the packaging that it originally comes in. But I never use them for that, even though I could. I use them, and you'll see it in the one that I made that's not like this. That's not the stationery set. How I used it differently, but you can use these as decorations, and you can use them as cards, and I tend to do that with it more so than in something that represents, because they're awfully large as well. Now, when you print with your printer, you can reduce the size depending on a program, you know, what program that you're using, but that's all extra work that you may not need to do. Okay, so on this one, these squares, and then there's tickets, and not this one, but this one. These are called microscope size because they're zoomed in and they're small. These are the same size as the slide. It's what you would put a sample of something on and then put it in a microscope. just on a side note in case. But what you really want, what you want to look at, especially with these two, is you want to look at, you'll notice on these that these pictures run across the tickets. Like this is a picture right here, okay, and this is a picture right here, and then this across here is a picture as well. So you may not want to just go ahead and, you know, cut all the tickets up or whatever, or you could and use it like a puzzle. That's a good idea as well. But what I would do is possibly look at a way to use like a row of them connected or 2 rows connected to make the one big picture. So possibly use this as a longer piece as a pocket or something such as that, or turn it sideways and use it like a tag. So you might want to think about that and see, this one's pretty big. So there are a lot of things that you can do. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to show me cutting up all these pieces and putting them on. I'm going to show you what I'm probably going to do, and then off camera I'm going to do it because your project is different than my project. So my goal here is, once I've shown you the construction, is to give you ideas on what you could do, and not specifically how I do mine, because yours is going to be different. So all you need are my ideas. So like the tickets and the microscopes, you can see that this picture goes across these 4 tickets and or squares, and in fact it might go across all of these. This goes across 4, this goes across these 2, these go across these 2, and this one kind of looks like the lone standout. So you want to look at those like you look at these, right? Look at your possibilities. Now when I was cutting out some of these squares, where did they go? Here they are. When I was cutting out some of these squares, and we'll talk about this, I have some cutting tips real quick, because you'll be able to see. Now when I was cutting them out, I made a mistake and tore the paper on here in a couple places. Let me do this again. I tore them on a couple places because I wasn't really paying attention when I was using the cutter. But you know, you don't want to get rid of this. All you do is just trim this off and then use it as if there was nothing wrong with it, and possibly use the 2 shorter ones together as something else, and then you've got all these that are the same size. Okay, so I wrote on here, keep mistakes. So we talked about that, and we talked about these. I have a little list. Yeah, and think about the style that you want to have, and don't be afraid. That's down at the bottom, and I meant to put it at the top, but I forgot. Don't be afraid to raid other kits. So if you have a similar kit, like this tag came from the Artie Mays tag fabrication, I think is what it's called. And so it just happened to have colors that would look really good, even though I don't want to use it by itself. So I'm going to take one of these that looks kind of like, maybe is one of the tickets or something, and or not ticket, but one of the longer bar ones that goes across, which is around here somewhere, down amongst one of these, only a smaller, yeah, cut down. So you want to look at something like this that I stole from another pack, and that was a pack of tags. So that was basically an ephemera pack. Now, like I was talking about, how some of these go with this part of the pattern, this half of the pattern of pages, and these go with the side that has the bird cages and all. The same thing comes up on your circle pages, and so you can see here that these go with that the lighter horizontal pages, and these three go with these ones with the feathers on them. So if you're going to use them, and like maybe you could use them to put 3, 1, 2, 3, and glue them just on one side, and then you could slide something like this in, basically making these a pocket. Okay, that's a good idea. I've actually done that before. We're going to possibly make this a belly band, which is a band that's glued at the top and the bottom, and then you slide something through. In fact, I am going to do that with something. Remember, we've got that. I'm getting sidetracked. Back to the circles. So when I cut out circles, I don't. I leave them together like this. It gives you something to hold on to when you're turning, because if you cut them all apart, then those are small. And also, I use the big scissors, and when I go in to cut them out, I actually tilt my scissors to the side a little bit, and then you can see, and I come at it this way, and then gradually catch the curve and go around and try to go as long as I can. Well, I'm talking and doing this, so you're going to see that this one isn't working out well, but and just try to keep to it without having to take your scissors up and restarting, and try to go as long as you can before you have to, do this part and start over. But start all the way over back at this part of the blade so that you can go a long way again without having to pick up your scissors and start over, because that's where you get those little hitches, is where you started over. And it doesn't matter if you miss this little black line on the way around, because when we do our inking around the edges of the ephemera, if you want to, then that will cover up any little spots like this where there's a little bit of the dark stripe that goes around, because I can never get that right. Some people have hole punches that are these size, and so they just punch them out. Like I said, I just started, and I'm a little poor to buy all the equipment, and so I don't have a 2-inch hole punch to do this. But you can just cut them out. It's not that hard to learn how to cut circles. If you do it kind of slow, you use a big pair of scissors, try to go as long as you can, slowly coming together, so you don't have to bring it back out and start again as much, because that's where you get the parts that start over again, and it'll give you that flat side or whatever. So those are my circle tips, and I now have lost my other, oh, here they are. So paper clip together the ones you're going to use, the ones you're going to use, the ones you're not going to use. Set the ones you're not going to use over to the side. Set the ones you're going to use in the work area that you can't see, which is also where I put the squares that said don't forget to keep your mistakes. And it's also where I'm going to put actually these are the circles I'm not going to use, so I'm going to put them over here out of the way. And I need to go through here still to decide, and I just like on a side note to say why do we need these violins that are actually super big. I could see maybe using them in a smaller project that is music related, but I'm not really getting it. I'm hoping someone that makes these kits will tell me. Now I know that these are used to make the origami skirts and little jackets and stuff, and put them on there and use in your projects. And I think these, just like the violins and these thread spools, could all be reduced by at least 30% and be easier to use. Now I did so I am going to save this as possibility, right? And I don't have room to put it up there with my possibility, So I already know what that is. So we're going to go back to our handy dandy paper clip and paper clip all these together. And I knew where that paper clip was. Why? Place for everything and everything in its place. Now, I did find a duplicate of, or what did I find? I found 2 pages that were the same. Yes, and I found this page that was another vertical page that if I turned it sideways, that some of the colors and elements, like maybe fussy cut out, and fussy cut means just cut right at the edges to cut an element out. Not a whole page, not a circle, not a square, but actually cut this out the shape of the leaf and the stem and the whole thing very delicately, and it's kind of a fussy thing that you have to do, and so it's called fussy cutting. So I might do something like that with this, so that we're going to put this in our possibility pile. And here's another square that if you look at it, it doesn't really go with this kit, even though well, on the back side we have a big giant key, the picture, and we could decorate that, and we might, if I could find another big key to put across to make a pocket across the middle. If I quit jiggling my foot, then my hands would not jiggle so much, I think. So I'm going to put this up here in my possible squares. And the same thing with the 3 circles going down. You can do a couple of squares together and make a sideways pocket. You can do the same going up and down. You can use a single square and have something smaller tucked behind it. You can use squares or circles and just glue them down strictly as decoration. Let's see what else. There's all kinds of things you can do. Now, you know, I was thinking, just because the original, oh, this is a part that I cut off. Let me show you this real quick so I can talk about this piece. I found another piece that was like this. That's where I thought that other one, the pair of these, came in. But it isn't. So I found another page just like this one. And so I thought, wow, I could use that to make one of my hidden elements that I like to do. They're kind of a personal favorite of mine. And so I cut the side off of this page, and I'm going to make a pocket. Now, it's not going to be the whole length because apparently I had to trim this down to make it match when I glued it together. So this isn't an exact match until I trim a little bit off, and then I can line it up. And see, that makes it look like it's one single page. You have to line that M up. Oop, there you go. And then make sure the flowers as well. So once I cut the little piece off of either end, then it will be easy to make the stem and everything line up. Once you turn it straight, then the M lines up and the leaf will line up as well. There we go. And so that makes the stems line up. And then you won't really see this once you take out whatever elements you're going to have in there. And that brings me to these 2 pages. I need a sip of coffee. I don't know if I told you or not, I tend to work really early in the morning, and it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So I am still drinking coffee. I would be chewing a piece of gum to help with my throat, but I thought that would be rude. So I did find 2 matching vertical pages from this kit, and these were vertical pages that I ended up not using. And so I decided that I could maybe fussy cut. I really liked these white leaves, that maybe I could fussy cut this out on some transparency paper because they're already white, or cut them out and put some transparency paper in front of it or behind it. There's some ideas that way. I call it transparency paper, but it's tracing paper. That's what it is. It's just good old everyday regular, not the super wonderful fancy kind, because that's thicker. I don't know why you'd want thicker tracing paper, but there is. And then it's also got a coating on it. So if you have a full sheet of this tracing paper, this kind, you can actually put it through your printer and print on it. So if I had it, when I was talking about my printer going crazy, I had brand new ink in there, and all of a sudden it decided that all of them were empty and it wasn't going to allow me to use any of them anymore. 2 of them were full, but the other 2 were empty, and I'd only printed about 25 or 30 pages, so that whole batch was defective some way. So I had to send them back, and I'm waiting on the replacement, so I don't have any ink. But it still kept making noises, so I turned it off. But anyway, or I would have printed something on this and possibly laid it on here with printed on it, you know, that would have matched somewhere, possibly on one of these sides that folds in. You know, the first side here, because this folds in, and then remember, this is your cover. So it's up to you whether you want to decorate your covers or not. Now this, I thought, well, what am I going to do for decoration on here? They're already so pretty. It's kind of hard to decide what to do. And then I thought, well, I'll put some pockets and I'll put some tags. But this particular kit, even though it has all of this ephemera, it didn't come with any tags. So just like I rated that Artie Mae's tag kit, I rated it again, but I'm not going to use these tags. I'm going to use them as templates so that I can cut out the shape of the tags on the parts of the page that I like and make tags out of this paper. It's the easiest way I can think of to do it. So the trick to this for me is to have the tag on the page, hold it up to a light so you can see through this paper, put the tag on there, and then line it up to where the tag is over the part of the picture of the page that you want to use. I don't know if I'm describing that correctly, but I just hold it up to the light so I can see where the shadow of the tag, which is going to be my template, and then when I cut it out, I want to make sure where I've traced it is over the piece of paper that I like that part of the pattern and that I want to use. So like the reason this one is sideways is I wanted to make sure and capture this lighter plant area on the tag itself. So I picked these large tags out of that kit to use as templates because I wanted to make the large tags for this particular project. Okay, so I'm setting that over to the side because it's a large part of our thing. And so I still have this other page, so I can set that to the side until I decide if I need anything off of it. I haven't even cut the edges off of it or anything yet because I don't know what I would need from it. If I'm just going to cut in and fussy cut something out, then I don't necessarily need to go to the trouble of cutting the edges off. Okay, and so we talked about our tracing paper, we talked about our tag. Let's see, you can, like I said, you can create pockets like this. Some of your pockets could be shaped like triangles and fit in a corner. Like you could put one in a corner over here, and that would be nice. It folds in. See, that's another reason I have to trim this. I don't want to, I'll turn it like this for right now because I don't want to fold anything because of the way it lines up when I fold this in. Now, okay, so let's do a little bit of this ephemera. I wanted to show you also how I went ahead and did the hidden pocket. That was all I've done so far except for one more thing, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, can you see where it is? No? Okay, it's right here. So you'll see what I did was I took that piece of paper I had. Let me get this is the rest of the page. So I took that piece of paper I had and I lined it up, and then I decided how long I wanted this feature to be. See, even I can't figure out where the end is. And then I just took my pencil Sorry about the big mess. It does get messy off camera. And I just made a mark with my pencil how long I wanted to make it, and then I just, cut it in the paper cutter. And I had already made it the width that I wanted it to be. Then the fun part begins, which is where you put glue. Always hold your finger on the side that you don't want to glue. Like this. Let's say you want to glue these 3 sides to make a pocket. That way you don't get confused. You don't get confused and do it wrong. Once you get the glue on there, you have just not a very long amount of time, and you have to kind of maneuver it around back and forth and up and down until you get the main things that people are going to see. There are a few small things like here, the exhibit. Well, I guess that does line up, but the main thing was the M, because that was pretty obvious, and the 2 flowers. And no matter what I did with this flower petal here, I don't know why I'm pointing out this mistake, because you wouldn't notice it if you didn't know it was there, but I'm pointing it out to you because I'm showing you how I did it. But I could not get this to line up for the life of me and still keep these 2 lined up. I don't know if it was the paper wasn't cut straight across this way or what, but anyway, I ended up trimming a little bit more off of it than I wanted. I did want the pocket to be a little bit longer, but that's okay. And then the other thing I've done off camera that I'm now going to show you is I did add that final piece on, and it looks like I may have taped it too close together, so I may have to re-put it on. And so now it folds like this, and then like this, and like this, and that's the cover. And then this is the back. So that's where we're at so far with that. So actually I'm going to set that to the side, and we're going to make these tags. Now remember, this side is the paper, this side are the tags that we're going to use as our templates. Now, since I've been moving this paper around, I want to hold it up again and make sure that it's going to be right where I want it to be. And this one lined up at the bottom. This is the one I'm mainly worried about because of those white leaves. I wanted to make sure to get that on there. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is trace around. I've been having trouble with my dog barking like crazy this morning, so hopefully, even though in the last little segment he did, I'm hoping that after having a firm talk with him, otherwise I went out there and I said, Oz, no barking, very firmly. Alright, and I'm going to trace around the outside of this one. It's still a little crooked. The tag might be a little crooked. Okay. And trace around. Oops. Got a little carried away at how easy I thought it was. Now I may not use all of these, but I'll have them if I do want them. And because this is so long, I have to do stuff to fill it up. And I think I did this already. Yep. Okay, so those 3 are done. So we can take the paper clips off, and we can take the templates off. And the paper clips go over here by the little clicky frog. Okay. And then let me put these back where they go, because if I don't, it will make my brain hurt. I know, it's so funny. Okay, so then now with this, I'm going to actually do some of the easier stuff without by using my cutter, so I don't really have to do anything, hopefully, but the that's why the messy off screen makes me crazy, because when things aren't all, like the scissors have to go back right there as soon as I'm done with them and things like that, and when stuff, because I'm moving it off camera to keep it kind of clean, but when the stuff gets in the way, it makes me crazy. Did you know I was crazy? You do now. If you didn't before. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, then you may not realize how crazy I am. Now the length on this one is a little bit longer than the length on the other one, so I'm just going to cut them both the same length. That little tiny bit is not going to make a difference in the long run. So then I'm going to cut the length off of this one. Be sure to save all your little scraps. I'm tossing all my scraps in a pile over here. You can use even these skinny ones, you can use them to collage. I keep them with the manila folder that I keep each kit when I print it out, when I keep it in there. When it starts getting thin, then I look and see which pages I've used so that I can print them out again. Especially on the ones that are my absolute favorites, which this forest one is, and the there's a couple others. There's a new one that I got that's a very pale, like grays, different shades of gray, and it's like a winter, I don't know how to describe it, but it's really pretty. I only got a chance to print out like part of it before my printer lost its mind. So now we're just down to the corners. To flip the paper open and make sure it's not any white, just white paper. Now, and all we'll have to do is cut these with the scissors, and then we'll have tags for our project. Then we're going to glue this together, and I think those were the main things that I wanted to show you for right now. If I come across anything else that's going to be like special or something that you might not know how to do, then I'll turn the camera back on and I will show it to you. But oh, I did want to show you this. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. I'm going to use this green paper in here somewhere. I'm going to have to trim it down, but somehow, somewhere, a notebook, you know, added in or something. And my speech is starting to slur because I've had a headache for 10 days and it's really kind of getting to me, so I apologize. So I actually dyed this paper myself. You could probably tell from the little non-conformities, which I actually like. And I just have 2 of this green, and I was thinking of slicing it into thirds and doing it that way, and that would be kind of nice. You could make a little booklet or something to put inside. So I just thought I'd show you this paper. I dyed it with, what did I get to get the green? I'm trying to remember. Oh, food coloring. I believe it was food coloring and water that I used. And yeah, it was kind of interesting. There's a little bit of brown. It might have been tea, and then the food coloring added in with it. So, and then you know, let it dry, and I laid it out in the sun and all that, and then I had to put it under books to make it flat. So that's how you do that. Alright, so that's it for this little section, and if we need to do any other little demos of cutting things up or whatnot, then I'll come back and do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to start gluing stuff on the pages, and then when we come back, I will show you the final of what I decided to do, show you how I did it, and then that way you can do it too, and then you can make your own unique item as well that you can give as a gift to someone if you decide to do it as a stationery set.